All right, back on the podcast. It is Paul Janish, the only guest who's ever been on the podcast who is acutely aware of the importance of sound quality. You do not have your professional mic, but I think it's going to work here today, Paul.
Yeah, we'll make it work with the available stuff that we have. But yeah, the Shure MV7's at the house, unfortunately, and I'm at the facility here in Arizona, so we're just gonna have to make do, Chuck.
All right, so you're in Arizona. Like, who's there right now? I know Hagen Smith is one of them. Like, what players are around the facility as we speak?
Yeah, it's a kind of a unique time with they changed the season for the ACL, so that has been completed. So we have guys that have been drafted in combination with some of the ACL guys that are still here, and they're working out in accordance, and we are playing outside competition. Like it's effectively kind of like an instructional league type schedule, and so there's a it's been really good to have those two groups because you got a lot of college guys in our draft class, obviously, and get them to integrate in with the guys that were here during the regular season for the ACL season, which is obviously that roster is historically a little bit younger, heavy Latino, and so it's been awesome to see those guys kind of get to know each other, play together. We have some competition type stuff that we set up. Danny Gonzalez is our manager down here. It does a really good job. Making sure that those guys are all on the same page, and it's been fun to watch those guys become pretty close knit. And like I said, we incorporate some competition that kind of keeps the juice flowing down here, even though we're not technically in an affiliate season.
Well, your job is to oversee the entire minor league system, and this is your first year on the job. But can you just describe the health of where the system is right now, even compared to where it was when you took the job in the beginning?
Yeah, so it's on the a lot of the publicity relative to the major league team, not playing well, and obviously some of the recent coaching changes, things of that nature. On the minor league side, it's the first year for me, like you referenced. It's been really good. There's a lot of good staff that we have in place that was here before, and we obviously added a lot of new staff over the past off season, and so the year as a whole has been an opportunity for those guys to get to know each other and start to implement, some of the philosophically some of the things we want to do moving forward, whether that's pitching, obviously with Brian Bannister and Matt Zaleski is our pitching coordinator, and on the hitting side with Alan Zenner is our hitting coordinator. So it's been a really good opportunity to get some of those things kind of on the ground floor and start working them through the system. And I think inherently a lot of that stuff's going to be organic, kind of from the bottom up, and trying to help in particular like with these draft guys. And so making it the system in such a way that this is what they know and this is what we're trying to promote and this is who we are and this is who we want to be and those kinds of things. But I feel really good about the way that the minor league season has gone up to this point. Obviously, we're not done yet. We had two first half winners, which is the first time in a little while, so we were excited about that. We are gonna, looking forward to watching Birmingham and Kannapolis play in the playoffs. And overall, we got Charlotte playing pretty good here of late, and Winston-Salem's kind of hovering right around 500. Kind of, I think they're 2 or 3 games under right now. But overall, I would tell you that it's been a lot of work. It's been a lot of correspondence, a lot of communication that has transpired over the last few months. But overall, it's been a lot more good than bad. And to your point, like even if we're talking about the guys that we got in the trade um, with the Dodgers, Albertus is obviously hurt, but Perez is playing really well in Kannapolis. You got Bergola from Philly, who's playing really well in Winston Salem. So there's a lot of reason for excitement, I think, at least on our side, and looking to the future.
Yeah, you're talking about obviously hitters and there's pitchers. The big question for me is obviously where is the hitting going to come from? Because at the major league level, it's by far the worst offense in baseball. And I'm looking down the minor leagues, and I'm not seeing enough like eye popping, like, oh, here's an answer, here's an answer, here's an answer. And you're talking also about the philosophy. So before we get to specific players, what is the philosophy, offensive philosophy that you are sharing with everyone from Kannapolis up to Charlotte?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think it ultimately comes back down to offensively specifically. It's more of an approach based, um, you know, plan that we're trying to implement. Right, we want guys that are going to have good at bats consistently, not being as swing oriented and being more approach oriented. So it's the the nature of like having consistent at bats that are gonna translate to the major league level. Like I'll use Miguel Vargas as an example, who obviously historically has been a very good minor league hitter. He's going to currently getting the opportunity to play at the major league level, ultimately for the first time with consistent at bats. That type of profile where it's a good at bat. I mean, watching the games on TV, it's very evident to me that he is not budging on his approach. Like he consistently takes borderline pitches that are outside the zone, and even to the extent that I think a lot of times the ball's actually off the plate, and maybe the umpire gives it to gives the pitcher a strike call, et cetera, but he doesn't budge. So like that type of thought process it's consistent, it's a process based deal. And trying to capitalize. Obviously, you need guys that have power. You want guys that can hit the ball in the ballpark and can slug and do all those things. Um, but ultimately, like trying to help guys understand who they are. If we're talking about Wilfred Veras, who has tremendous power, who is 21 and having a good year at the Double A level, we want to help promote what he's good at, which is hitting the ball really hard. And we also want to help him understand, like, look, man, we're going to have to start to be more selective. When you take balls and swing at strikes, you're going to have success. You're talented. So it's those kinds of things. And then if it's a Rikku Nishida type, right? Like he's a different kind of hitter, right? I think he's leading the minor leagues in runs scored. His impact on the baseball is very different than Wilfred Veras or George Wolkow. However, he's an offensive tool, right? So like I think doing as good a job as we can, helping guys understand who they are, and at the end of the day, add offensive value in some way, shape, or form.
I want to make sure I'm pronouncing his name right because I've been reading it for a year and a half. It's Rikku Nishida.
Yeah, that's I call him Ricky. So like whenever I'm in town, I just call him Ricky. That's what everybody calls him. But yeah, I believe he's we could call him Spark Plug if you want to be honest, because it's tough to be around the kid without getting fired up.
Yes, I'm fascinated by him, and I'm always like, whenever I see him. So for everyone who doesn't know him, he's how tall? 5'6"?
Oof, yeah. I mean, I'll give him 5'7". Yeah, I'll give him 5'7".
5'7", went to Oregon. He's a leadoff hitter, and I always, when I see him, I'm like, if this guy makes it to the majors, like he's going to be on MLB Network every day. Can you describe who he is and what he's all about and what he can be if he makes it to the major leagues?
It's not going to be due to lack of personality. Okay, I can promise you that. Special kid, just completely transparent, completely infectious. Everybody loves him. It doesn't matter country of origin. He is it's just a really really special kid, special personality, and he plays the game hard, man. He shows up every single day. I know when he was in Kannapolis, Pat Leland's our manager there, and Pat was trying to get him a day off at one point during the season, and Riku wouldn't have it. Like he wants to be in the lineup. I love that about him. He told me the reason he went to Oregon is because green's his favorite color. Okay, so it's it's a
Eccentric.
really yes it's a really unique profile. But I love the kid. Like I said, he makes everybody around him better, which is obviously a good thing.
No power, steals bases. Just he's a tone setter, would you say, right?
He's versatile. He's by trade probably most suited for second base. Plays a solid second base. He's played some left field this year as well, so he's he can do some different things. But yeah, it's at the end of the day, he's like we said, kind of the straw that stirs the drink, so to speak. No matter where he is, so just one of those guys you find that he finds his way in the lineup, and the defensive versatility it obviously helps. But it's a solid second baseman.
Okay. Everyone look him up. You'll see what I'm talking about. He is, when he's on the field, you can't take your eyes off of him. And if he gets into the major leagues, like I said, it's just going to be something else. I really hope it happens. All right, so I have questions about hitters, and then I want to get to pitchers. But actually, as I'm now realizing you're in Arizona, is Yoan Moncada around? Because he's been rehabbing his injury, and we haven't heard much about like where he's at right now, because he could be a part of the team in September possibly.
Yeah, he's here. He's on site. He's it's been a goofy rehab for him. I think he's had kind of some ups and downs, but yeah, he's here on site, and he's going to take BP today on the field. Actually, going to go out there and watch that here in a little while. yeah, he's been here. He's working. In terms of timeline, that kind of stuff. To be completely honest, I'm not totally sure, but we're hoping that he can get back with the major league team, obviously, at some point in September.
Yeah. Do you feel like he's getting close, like he's on a positive trajectory at this point?
I think the trajectory is positive, and like I said, it's been a tough go for him, so it's hard to predict exactly, where he's at or how far out he is because he's had a couple of setbacks. But that being said, he's definitely going in the right direction, and we're hopeful that we can get him back with the major league team soon.
All right, so I want to start with Coulson Montgomery. Big topic, obviously. He's got
Yeah.
all the tools, the makeup, everything, the best hitting prospect in terms of ranking in your system. He's been 206 so far in Charlotte, 13 homers, 54 walks, 127 strikeouts. What kind of season has this been for him?
I think we're going to look back and say beneficial is probably the best word. He struggled offensively. I was just in Charlotte this past week as well. Had the opportunity to communicate with him. He'd be the first one to tell you that, right? It's not for a lack of work. I give him a lot of credit. He's still showing up every single day and playing. He's played actually really good defense, which in some respects people maybe question, but he's doing a good job on that front, playing shortstop every single day at the AAA level. Relative to the level, he's still young. Again, I know we want guys to have success immediately, and we want them to go to the big leagues and be good right away. And it's a hard game, right? It's a hard game. So we're still very much excited about Coulson. Obviously, he can do some things that other people can't do, and at the end of the day, we're still, hopefully, knock on wood here, but we're in the midst of him playing his first full season healthy. And I think that's a huge factor to consider when we're talking about him and where he's at in his development and those kinds of things. But yeah, he'll be the first one to tell you he's not satisfied with his offensive performance this year. But that being said, like we're very confident in Coulson, and the thing that's very telling is Coulson's very confident in Coulson. He knows he hasn't performed like he wants to, and he also knows that he's better than what he's doing, and he wants to be really good at the major league level, which for me is a significant factor. So yeah, he's working, he's grinding, and we're gonna continue to support him and believe that he's gonna be a really good player.
Yeah, he played, I believe, 64 games total last year. He's now at 100. And I looked that
Yeah,
up this morning. I'm thinking, okay, this is just at the bare minimum that is progress for him, and it's 100 games at AAA, where he's one of
yeah,
the youngest players in the game. I mean, in AAA. So I think that says a lot about him. But one thing I want to ask you, because we show a lot of his highlights, I don't watch every at bat, but it seems like
yeah.
every time he gets a hit, he's pulling the ball. So clearly he's able to do that. How much is that uh, a product of what he's trying to do, or also maybe what he needs to do and going the opposite way? I mean, why am I seeing so many pull hits for Coulson? And is that part of the development where he needs to grow a little bit by putting the ball all over the place?
Yeah, and he's historically he has used the entire field. That's why he's had such a high level of success, at the minor league level up to this point, and he'll continue to do so. And yeah, he has pulled the ball a lot more this year for whatever reason. I know that's definitely part of the conversation with him, and in terms of trying to get back into the middle of the field and creating a little bit more margin for error, et cetera. But yeah, it's the good thing is he has the ability to go the other way very naturally, and it's just about kind of getting back into that approach. And again, he's working on it. It's hitting's hard, man. Baseball's hard. There's no two ways about it. But like I said, the thing that encourages me about Colson is the work ethic, is the want to. There's no excuses from him, which to me is like, for a young guy who's dealing with a little bit of relative adversity for the first time is a huge factor.
It's weird. It's a huge plus. That's how I look
Yeah,
at it. If you have the right makeup, you want a
yeah,
guy to know what it's like to be in a big slump and what it took to get out of it. And that's development, right?
that's right. That's right. It's not always comfortable, but we all need it.
You don't want to be in it. Then there's Edgar Caro, who off to a great start in AAA, slashing 313, 408, 506 in 23 games. Sore back. Is he on the injured list? And when do you expect him back, if that's the case?
Yeah, He's on the injured list, and honestly, it's something that he probably could have been okay with, but we just want to make sure, provide him the opportunity to get completely healthy. There's no rush for him, and obviously he's very well thought of. He's had a great year. I give him credit because he's caught a lot of games this year, and you don't hear anything from him. So for him to say something about the back, that there's something that's a little uncomfortable. That being said, he should be fine. I would be surprised if we're hoping he's back in the lineup by this weekend. So, but really impressive kid. Again, I've said this before, and I'll continue to say it. He's getting a lot of praise for his offensive ability, which is a big deal, and he's having a great year. I really believe like some of the intangible stuff, the relationships with the pitchers, the ability to call the game, the calm demeanor, some of those things are really going to give him the opportunity to have success at the major league level. Um, I do think he's going to be offensive, over time. I think he's going to have to learn how to hit in the big leagues like everybody else does. But those are the defensive side of the ball and some of the things that we don't see, maybe even on the telecaster, would excite me about Edgar.
I know the final decision isn't yours, but do you think that he's ready for the major leagues or could be by the end of the season?
Yeah, I think he's put himself in a situation where he's proven that he would be ready for the challenge. Like you said, it's not entirely up to me. Obviously, those are group discussions and evaluating what's best for Edgar long term and the Chicago White Sox. I do feel comfortable saying though that he's every challenge that we've given to him up to this point, he's answered and not just kind of squeaked by. He's done a really good job. So assuming health, whenever the time comes that he does get the call, he's going to get the opportunity to play in the major leagues. And I personally believe, and self-admittedly I'm biased towards him, but he's going to have success at the major league level.
Tim Elko, he's hitting like power. It's there in AAA. And as I'm watching that, I'm thinking, oh, where's this power going to come from in the minor leagues? Well, there's some. What's been working for him since he got called up to AAA? Is it just a better ballpark? Is it the pitching? What's happening there? Is it a swing adjustment? What can you tell us about Elko?
So first of all, everybody's already said it and everybody knows it, but the makeup's off the charts, right? Unbelievable guy, the kind of guy that you want to be on your major league team because of what other stuff he brings to the clubhouse and the teammates, etc. I don't think that there's anything crazy. I think he was swinging the bat really well in Birmingham all year. You know, Anybody who's been to those two ballparks can understand Birmingham is not super offensive at times, and Charlotte is. And so, like, I don't know that what Tim's doing is anything different other than, you know, maybe Charlotte's ballpark is a little bit more offensively friendly. But he hits the ball hard, man. He's another guy like over the course of time, we're just trying to help him understand. Look, if you take the balls and swing at the strikes, you're going to have success because physically he's a strong guy. He hits the ball hard. He hits the ball far. Some of those things that are really really valued. Um, and he grinds. Like again, going back to it, he's the kind of guy that who's going to show up at the park every day. It's a huge factor, and when we're trying to forecast who's going to have success at the major league level, those are in particular offensively. I think that's a very difficult thing. I think the gap between AAA and the major leagues is as big as it's ever been, especially for an offensive player coming up and having to deal with it. The but because of knowing the type of guy that he is, the type of work ethic, he's the kind of guy that's easy to bet on.
Why is the gap larger than ever before between AAA and the majors?
Yeah, I just think information, number one, preparation, I think is a significant factor. Obviously, there's just pure, you know, talent, if that's what we want to call it. Arm talent at the major league level is as deep as it's ever been. All of those factors, and honestly, like a lot of it is as much exposure as there's ever been, right? Like if it's hard to be in the big leagues and sneak through a 1 for 25 without somebody blowing you up about it, and the psychological impact of that is real. And so I just think that there's some of those factors. It's great that there's so much exposure to the game, and obviously the economics of the game are in a good place and all those kinds of things. But from a player's perspective, they're as subject to criticism as they've ever been, and that's a real thing too. So that's part of adjusting to the major league level. When we're talking about Coulson or Tim Elko or Edgar Caro in Charlotte, that's one conversation versus them having success and/or struggling at the major league level. There's going to be a lot more attention to that, and so those are some of the things that we try to help guys understand. But at the end of the day, it's like a lot of things. Until you do them, until you've been at the major league level, until you've had a significant struggle at the major league level and had, podcasters galore ask you about it and make you think about it all day long. It's part of the development process, unfortunately, which we're going to get to see over the next period of time in Chicago, because some of these guys are going to be coming up.
Yeah, so I feel like this has been following Coulson Montgomery around all season long. Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? Why is Chuck Garfien bringing this up on a podcast? Why are they talking about this on the post-game show? And I mean, I do it, once a month, whatever, not even once a month, but it's in the air, right? And it just follows you. So you need to be mentally freaking strong to deal with all of that. This social media is just insane. So it takes a special kind of person to tune out the noise. And that goes into the makeup, right? When you're looking for guys, okay, we see you on the baseball field. Yeah, you can everyone can deal with success. How are you going to deal with failure? How are you going to deal with the attention of the failure? And it seems like Elko and Montgomery, just those two guys specifically, are dealing with, I'm not dealing with that, but they seem to have the right makeup to deal with that. Is that what you're trying to say?
That's exactly right. And it's something we're trying to be proactive with, just like talking about, saying out loud, because they're going to have to deal with it. It's using the Jackson Holiday example, early in the year, he comes up and does whatever he did, 1 or 2 for 30 or whatever it was, and gets him back down, comes back up. Obviously having success currently, it's a tribute to him, number one, but it's the reality of it. Like, he had never been exposed to some of the things that were getting said about him when he went 1 or 2 for 30, and now everybody, I guess turns out he might be okay. You know what I mean? So anyway, but yeah, it's part of the makeup factor for sure, and you got to be durable, man. It's like I said, it's a hard game. Playing in the major leagues and having success at the major leagues can be difficult, and there's a lot of factors that go into being able to endure it.
All right, so I'm dreaming of the day, and hopefully it's not in the not too distant future, of Rikku Nishida in the major leagues standing next to George Wolkow in the major leagues. It was like 6'7", I believe.
Yeah, I've got a photo. I'm gonna send you, Chuck, when we're done here, with those two guys standing next to each other in Kannapolis, and it's pretty special. It's a liken to the Aaron Judge Jose Altuve photo.
I want to see it. Can I put that on social media if you send it to me, or is that just something that I need private for now?
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't see any reason. We can, you can definitely share it.
Okay, because that is eye popping. Clearly, someone who's a foot taller than the other person, and they're playing the same game. Walco, I've been watching him play in Kannapolis, and he is someone who you can really get excited about if things come together. And I've talked to him. He's his makeup is off the charts for. Is he 18? Is he 18? Yeah, he's probably 18 at this point.
Yeah, he's 18.
How has he developed as a hitter this season in his first year in the minor league system with you guys?
It's been really good, and I give a lot of credit to our hitting group. I mentioned Alan Jenner, Danny Santine, Charlie Romero is our hitting coach in Kannapolis, and and you got Gelly up there right now with you. He had a really good relationship with him down here in Arizona, and so I give a lot of credit to George for, number one, wanting to be good, wanting to work at being good, and then also the ability to adjust for a young guy. He's exhibited that already this year, which has been really encouraging. Like you said, he's 18 years old. He is just getting going. But man, it's some intriguing ability to hit the ball hard. And he plays hard. And same thing, like, man, he is in the lineup every day, knock on wood. He wants to play. It's in terms of dealing with the physical taxing of the season. He's a big, strong kid, but man, he pushes the limit in a good way. So just really big fan of George up to this point. To your point, just because of the way he goes about his business, it lends itself down the road to when he is going to deal with adversity, he's going to be able to deal with it.
How tough is it going to be for him to develop the plate discipline? Because the long arms, in theory, are going to have big swing and miss. What's his mindset, and what's he been able to do with that hit tool of his and trying to find a way to keep the strikeouts down?
Yeah, I think it's continuing from an approach standpoint to understand what he does well, and understanding when to choose his spots of, maybe to take a chance or maybe to be a little bit more honest and those kinds of things. Is he facing a left-handed pitcher with a good breaking ball? Is he facing a right-handed pitcher? Just some of those overall, approach-based things that are going to help him over the course of time understand what he can do when. And like I was kind of referencing, he's shown a pretty high aptitude for being able to take those things in and understand them and apply them. And so I do think, look, those concerns are real. He's huge and he's long and all this stuff, but but there's a couple guys doing it at a high clip at the major league level right now, and I know those are the exceptions and maybe not the rule. But as far as we're concerned, we love George and believe in his ability, and there's no reason that he can't be one of the exceptions too, as far as what we've seen up to this point.
Before we wrap up the hitting part of our discussion, yes, truth be told, the situation is that Paul's in his office, and every 10 minutes, the automatic light switch is going off.
Yep.
And so, but now it's back on. Now we get to see your face. Paul, any other hitters? I know maybe I shouldn't ask this, but I'm going to ask it anyway because it puts you on the spot. But I could go up and down your entire minor league system and pick a few guys here to ask you about, but I don't want to do that. Can you give me a few guys who are really showing you something that to give some White Sox hope from a hitting perspective, who could be something special, hopefully? It doesn't have to be special, but could be contributors to the team in the major leagues in the not so distant future.
Yeah, I think Jacob Gonzalez is dealing with his first full season of professional baseball. He's played well up to this point. The Southern League is hot. It's a hard league to play in, like we talked about with Elko. But Jacob's had a very solid year. Wilfred Veras is in the outfield there in Birmingham, and he's 21 at that level, like we talked about. He's doing very well. There's reason to be excited about him for sure. DJ Gladney, to me, has kind of dealt with some injuries this year. He started the year in Winston. He's been promoted to Birmingham and was having success, and had a little tweak again. But he's another guy that just physically can do some things. He hits the ball so hard. It's encouraging. So excited about him. He can play the outfield as well, like all three positions. Westcath is had a very solid year in Winston as well. But there's some of those guys that are, if we're being honest, there's still some development to do, some honing of the skills to do. But there's a couple of options that we're excited about, and it's I would compare it a little bit to what we dealt with Brooks Baldwin this year. And going into the season, right? Like if I had said, hey, Chuck, you're going to be watching Brooks play in Chicago this year, you would have looked at me like I was goofy, right? Mm-hmm. So the reason I bring Brooks up is because, again, like we've talked about, the way he goes about his business, some of the approach-based stuff that we're trying to implement and putting guys into positions to succeed offensively and understanding like what that takes for them individually. I just feel very, very optimistic about some guys that maybe we're not sure about being able to turn the corner, whether that's Tim Elko, whether that's Wilfred Veras, some of those kinds of things, and becoming players that maybe we're not sure that they are just yet.
I want to go back to Miguel Vargas, who you brought up, and you talk about his plate discipline. And you obviously were watching him in the minor leagues, I'm assuming, and he was with the Dodgers, obviously, when they made the trade. But it was one of the reasons why you guys acquired him. I know you didn't make the trade, but I'm sure you were part of the conversations, was because of he fit with what you think he can be and how it fits with what you guys want to be.
I think that's very accurate in terms of, you talk about, lineup makeup over the course of time and trying to include as many of those kinds of guys as you can. Obviously, you want guys with the ability of Luis Robert, right? There's just not that many of those. So when you're talking about, and I think the Dodgers are a good example at the major league level. Like, you talk about a lineup that is just suffocating, right? You got guys that are super talented, whether that's Mookie or Freddie or obviously Shohei, but they're super talented, but they include the approach with that, right? And so it just makes it where it's there's just no let up in a lineup like that. Even if you're not going to hit the ball over the fence, like, you're still going to have a good at bat. You're going to make the pitcher work. You're not going to be an easy out. And again, hitting's hard. It's I'll be the first one to vouch for that. But it's definitely from a philosophical standpoint, I think that it's evident that that was highly valued, and Miguel's a good example.
Well, I want to talk some pitching with you. Hagen Smith is going to be going on his first professional assignment, so to speak. He's going to join Winston-Salem, pitch on Saturday, but he's been there in Arizona, so you've had a chance to work with him ever since the White Sox drafted him. Tell us about Hagen.
So first of all, hails from Texas, which is a plus. Really good kid, man. I've been really impressed with the interaction with Hagen. One of the examples first thing I noticed about him was the way that he interacted with the catchers in his bullpen settings early on, and really just interacted with everybody. He's a very, very down to earth, very, what you see is what you get kind of guy. Almost like, on cruise control when he's not on the mound. But and man, it's fun to watch the competitor come out when he is thrown. But I've just been super impressed with the kid. Take the pitching out of it. Obviously, he's very talented. It's a really good left-handed arm. I've been most impressed with the stuff, the ancillary stuff that's not relative to the pitching. Again, when you're talking about what's going to lead to success down the road, I think there's a lot of reason to be really excited about the talent that Hagen has, but really the person, I think, and the kid that Hagen is.
So he's fastball slider. I heard that he very quickly found a changeup down there with you guys. Is that accurate?
Yeah, he's toying with a changeup. Yes, I think that long term, I think that's that'll be added to the repertoire. But he's got the benefit of, at least in my opinion, having the opportunity to ultimately be a 2-pitch guy if that's what he wanted to. I think the changeup will come, and I just I don't know that he'll need it in this immediate short term, but it's definitely going to be something that benefits him long term.
And how close do you think he could be to the major leagues? I'm putting you on the spot. Come on, Paul.
Yeah.
Give me an answer.
Yeah. Well, I feel very comfortable telling you that that's not up to me. From an ability standpoint, he could pitch in the major leagues, very soon, right? I think that, again, what we have to keep in mind, Hagen's 21. From a workload standpoint, from a, making sure from a health standpoint, he's never had any real issues, but just making sure we're putting him in a position not to be good, like, at the first half of next year, the second half of next year. We want Hagen to be really, really good for a long period of time. So, there's a bunch of factors that go into that, but from an ability standpoint, he'll be ready as soon as we feel like he needs to be in terms of going to the major leagues, I think. And if that's as soon as next year, then that's as soon as next year. But the most important thing with him is getting him acclimated to professional baseball, the schedule that is professional baseball for a starting pitcher, and making sure that we're putting him in a situation from a health standpoint to maintain over the long term.
Kai Bush was acquired at the deadline last year, and he's had his struggles last season in the minor leagues, and boom, look what he's done this year, and had a great outing against the Astros the other day, where he gave up 1 run over 6, went toe to toe with Framber Valdez. That's a great success story. I mean, I had a feeling he was going to become something, but to go from the changes that he needed to make, and then boom, look what he's doing. Why has he been so successful this year and been able to turn things around?
Yeah, I first of all, big Kai Bush fan. I'm excited for him. I'm glad that he's getting the opportunity because he's pitched as well as anybody else in the organization this year relative to the minor league side. And I think it was just a little bit of an internal confidence. He's at times in the past he struggled with command. He has not this year at the minor league level. He's really good in Birmingham. He's been very solid in Charlotte. His first couple of outings at the major league level, you saw a little bit of it, which, again, let's be honest, like it's a young guy adjusting to the major league level first time, right? Like, it's a big deal. But it was really encouraging to see him throw well against Houston. It was obviously a good lineup and in an offensive park and all that stuff. So I just think he's big. He's left-handed. The stuff is good. There's a lot to like about Kai, and I think he's going to continue to have success. Again, he needs to stay healthy and all that, but just excited. And again, if you're looking into the future, it's hard to not see him as part of that rotation.
Yeah, I'm excited about Mason Adams. Did he get banged up or something like that? Is he on the injured list right now?
Yeah, just something. It was the same thing, and I don't know if it was maybe travel related or not, but it was just a little bit of a back tweak, nothing crazy. And honestly, we're being precautionary with him for obvious reasons. But yeah, Mason, from a skill set standpoint, he can literally make the baseball do whatever he wants, and he can throw, and he does a really good job of throwing it where he wants, which again is why I think over time he's going to have the opportunity to have a lot of success. It's I kind of liken him to maybe a Kyle Hendricks type, which people in Chicago are going to be familiar with. He's just very cerebral and always under control. When you see Mason on the mound, it's very rare to see much from a body language standpoint that is out of the ordinary, which again I really really value when you're talking about over the course of time being able to deal with whether it's pressure, adversity, whatever.
All right, a couple more questions, and I guess I have to ask. I want to ask about Noah Schultz, who's in Birmingham. He's got I think a 1.59 ERA. The sportscaster in me is like, have him go 7. Let's see what he can do.
Yep.
But this is why I'm a sportscaster, and I'm not in charge of his professional career. He's going 3 or 4 innings. What is the goal for him? But obviously, there's staying healthy. But how has he developed this year? How has he grown as a pitcher?
Yeah, again, really good kid. He's the 4 inning thing and is really just more a product of getting him through the season healthy, right? Like we all know, getting him used to the schedule. This is, knock on wood, going to be, you're setting me up for failure here, Chuck. But
no, you said knock on wood. You're good. You're good.
Yeah, this is hopefully going to be the first year that he gets through healthy and pitches. Takes every turn on every turn in the rotation. And again, he's physically speaking, he's a big kid, but he's still developing physically as well, right? He's still developing the requisite strength that he's going to need over the course of time to maintain health, and be able to pitch in a 5-man rotation for an entire major league season. He throws a ton of strikes, man, which is why he's having success, and it's real stuff, man. It's up to 99 at times, and it's the sliders it induces some goofy swings. So just really really big on Noah. Think the world of him as a kid, and yeah, he's just outrageously talented, man.
Okay, and I got to ask you about Doug Sisen, because he spent a lot of time in the minor leagues with all up and down your system as like a roving instructor. I guess that's his title, and now he's the bench coach for Grady Sizemore. And I go back with him. I mean, I have to probably. Should I talk about it now? I want to interview him and talk about this.
I can't wait. Can you let me know?
Yeah, I got a great. I don't know if I don't want to put this out there yet, but I don't know him very well. I know him a little bit, but he doesn't even, I don't think, know that I was around the 1999 Harrisburg Senators, which he was the manager of. And there are stories there that I want to share with him.
Yeah.
Just everyone Google Milton Bradley 1999 Harrisburg Senators, and he'll know what I'm talking about, because I was working there and he was the manager of the team. Anyway, he's a no nonsense, take no bull crap from anybody kind of coach.
Truth serum. I call him truth serum. Don't ask this questions you don't want to hear the answer to. Okay.
That I feel this team organization has needed, and I'm not. I just tell me. I want to know where I stand. I want to know what's going on with this. I want to know what's on with that. No BS. He's all like that. So, what kind of effect has he had on the organization and the players? Because I'm hearing the minor league players like love it. They love him, and that's. I think that's refreshing.
No, it is, and Sis and I have developed a very good relationship this year as well. We didn't really know each other prior to coming into this year, and you said it. Like, from a fundamental standpoint, he knows the game as well as anybody. He sees the game in a very black and white way, meaning like, there's a way to play the game of baseball, and it's hard, and it's we go to the right spot when the ball goes in the gap on a cutoff and a relay, and things of that nature. Base running is a passion of his. A lot of the little things are what really appeal to him, and what, again, it's a blessing and a curse. He sees them on the field, and you can't not see them, right? So like, it's fun to have him down here, like during the spring training environment, or we had him out here for draft camp when the guys got drafted, and just because of the way that he sees the game and how direct he is with the conveyance of his opinions. But yeah, he's good for everybody. and I'm sure that Grady is leaning on him a lot because he's got so much experience and he's been a manager, 1999 included. But I just think a lot of says he brings a lot of experience of, like I said, I think at the end of the day, directness, which to your point about the minor league players and why they appreciate him and respect him, is because he will hit him between the eyes with the truth, but also like it's not intended to be condescending. I mean, he cares about the kids and he wants to help people get better. And when you talk about a coach, like I have a college background, right? And so to me, that's what comes to mind. Like Sis, I think is coach slash mentor in a way that is very direct and very much what people need to hear. In a lot of cases, in particular, 18 to 22-year-old males, right? Um, so we value him in the organization for sure. Very not an accident that he's part of the major league staff right now, and obviously I'm sure really really helpful for Grady.
Yeah, for sure. Uh, and then one last thing, just your feeling on where things are at right now as we wrap things up with the organization on the minor leagues, and what do you want to see the rest of the season from them?
Yeah, I just think on the minor league side in particular, like we referenced Birmingham and Kannapolis won the playoffs. Let's let's enjoy that and try to get them some playoff success. Um, but again, on the minor league side, it's been a successful year, I would say, up to this point. Again, knock on wood, we're not done yet. But and that, from an organizational standpoint, and with Chris's background, I think it's very safe to say like there's an understanding of like the foundation, right? Like whether or not we're talking about the Dominican Academy, whether or not we're talking about the amateur draft, we're talking about instructional league, all of these things leading into obviously the affiliates, right? And then the foundation of the player development system and how it complements the major league team. Obviously, the major league team receives a lot of, the publicity, whether that's good, bad, or indifferent. Over the course of time, it's very evident Chris is going to be very intentional with the foundation of the organization and doing the things that it takes to sustain success and over the course of time.
Oh yeah, and you brought up something I forgot to ask you about, and that is you were in the Dominican Republic last week. That has been the international part of the White Sox system has been lacking. Let's be honest. What kind of steps are you guys taking to improve your success rate down there?
Yeah, so there's talks of building a new facility, number one, which we're excited about and hope that will that will come to fruition sooner than later. And but yeah, to your point, it's become a significant part of organizations that are having sustained success, and whether that's developing players for the purpose of trade or whether that's developing players for the purpose of homegrown talent, so to speak. And there's a lot of different avenues that can benefit the organization. And I think we all can agree that it's like I was referencing, Chris believes in the foundation of the organization, and that's part of that. And so we're going to continue to work on getting the most out of that facet as we can.
All right. Well, Paul, thanks for your time. I appreciate it. A lot of guys who I'm excited about seeing getting here to the major leagues and helping things out because let's be honest, they can use some help. It's been rough to say the least.
Well, it's to that point, Chuck, it's a narrative of opportunity for us on the minor league side, on the player development side, because we really can say like if you play well and you have success and you play the game the right way, you're going to get rewarded. Brooks Baldwin is our best current example, and we're hoping there's going to be a bunch more.
Yeah, I mean, if I was a minor league player in this system, I'd be like, let's go. There is a clear path that I can get to the major leagues as quick as possible. I'm going to take advantage of it. So I think there's certainly a positive there. And it sounds like you got the right kind of guys who see that, believe that, and want to make the best of it. So let's hope it gets better and better soon. Paul, appreciate the time. Thanks again, man.
Chuck, thank you, man.
All right, that's a wrap for this edition of the White Sox Talk Podcast. Hawk Harrelson, take it away.
Thanks, our Chuck. And this edition of the White Sox Talk Podcast is over.
Congrats, you finished the video. If you want to build on that success, download the NBC Sports Chicago app. It's got highlights, exclusive insights, and push alerts tailored to you. Everything you need to be a real Chicago sports fan. Download it now.